Welcome. I'm so tickled to see some students in the crowd that aren't here to tell stories, just to be supportive of your classmates. So for the parents in here and guests, hopefully I introduced myself, but I'm Paige Battle, the teacher librarian for Grant High School, and I'm really tickled you're here. This is, my students would tell you, an event that's really near and dear to my heart because one, they know that I love to talk and that I tell a lot of stories, but I like hearing their stories too. And one of the things that I said last week to some students who were in an English class learning about how to craft a story and be able to get up and tell it was that the reason I feel so passionate about stories is because I think once you hear another person's story, you get to know them a little bit better, you share your story, they get to know you a little bit better, and it really helps build empathy. And I think we can all agree that that is something that would really be useful right now for people to practice radical empathy. But tonight's theme is mischief. That's what our students are here to talk about. And I feel like a lot of you, you know the moth and you know how this works. 5 minutes at the mic to tell a story. It's true. It has to be something that happened to you and you work in whatever that night's theme is. And so what was so funny as we started off trying to rally students to come tell stories, some of the students said, I don't know that I would have a story. I never did anything bad. And I started thinking, and for some of the veterans in the room, you know I have the story about April Fool's Day and why I hate it so much, but I thought I can't tell that story. But then I started thinking back to time in high school. I haven't told any of the students this story, and I thought to kind of get us started off tonight, I would be vulnerable and share a story from my past. And so what you want to do while I'm telling the story, and y'all, I have not practiced this, so I'm looking towards our timekeeper over here, who is my husband, Ira, who agreed to come out and help us tonight. So here's the thing, student storytellers, you know you get 5 minutes to tell your story. If, like me, you tend to be long-winded, when you hit that 5-minute mark, Ira's gonna hold up my Portland Thorns fan that I take to all the games in the summer. So he'll give a little bit of a wave, so you'll see that out of the corner of your eye. Oh, I've hit 5 minutes. But then Ira holds it up, and it's just solid, you know, uh-oh, you hit 6 minutes. So I don't think anybody's gonna have that problem. We're not gonna worry about that. But I'll tell a quick story to get us started before our first student storyteller. Okay, so I told some of my students, I have a story, and it involves me not thinking that the way that the story was going to end was that I was going to commit a crime. Now, this happened, I was having to do the math, I think it was 38 years ago. That's when Miss Battle was graduating from high school. And y'all might do this here in Oregon, but where I grew up in Florida, when you graduated from high school, you had that last day of school and then a week off before the ceremony. And this was known as Beach Week. And so high school seniors would take to the Gulf Shores, and why parents let 18-year-olds do this, renting houses for them, the parties that went on, I was a little removed from where the main beach week was happening because my very good friend Nicole, her father and uncle, they had a condo in Gulf Shores, Alabama. So when I explain to my students, where am I from? I'm like, it's really Floribama. I grew up in Pensacola, right on the line between Florida and Alabama. So there we are in Gulf Shores. And it started out really innocently, but one night, Nicole and I, and then another high school friend of ours, we were together, and right across the street from where her condo was a goofy golf, right? You know, so not a straight up putt-putt, but the kind that has like really wild shapes for all of the different holes of the course. And the theme of this one was jungle. So you can imagine what it looked like, you know, lots of hills, palm trees, and we got it into our minds like this was the perfect place to play hide and seek. So we go out the first night and we play, and oh, it's so much fun. Well then, as the week progresses and more friends start coming out to the condo, the teams get bigger and bigger till we're at the point of there's 10 people. Now, the first crime we were committing was we were trespassing on this goofy golf structure, but we didn't really think that was that bad, and you know, we've been doing it the last couple of nights, but here we are on this one night, and we have 10 friends that are together to play hide and go seek. You know, we're hiding, we run to the Coca-Cola machine that's base, and you know, we're waiting for the last person on our team to make it back to base, and we're going to be the ultimate champion for the week. And just as we're waiting for that last person to come in, one of our friends jumps out from behind the Coke machine and says, "Bang!" And my friend Nicole got so startled, she backed up and her arms backed into a plate glass window that completely shattered. An alarm goes off inside of the building because they're thinking someone is trying to break into this building and steal the cash that is kept on the premises. And we just ran across the street, ran into the dunes. We were hiding in sand dunes thinking that was gonna save us. And I honestly can't remember how long did we wait there. We finally run back into the condo. The front bedroom looked out over the parking lot to the goofy golf. And for the rest of the night, we were terrified because at one point, yes, there were police cars that showed up at this goofy golf, and we thought, oh my God, we are going to get taken to jail. But I don't know what the statute of liability is in the state of Alabama, but to this day, we've never been charged for that crime. There you go. All right, did I make it in time?
You did.
Awesome. All right, there we go, students. You can do this too.
I thought there was going to be another crime.
Well, there were two crimes. I was
I
trespassing,
know,
and we were like breaking and entering, although we didn't. We ran. We broke and ran. Okay, so to my left, we have our judges for tonight, and throughout the night, I'm going to be introducing them. But before we bring up our first student storyteller, let's make sure, students, I know you have your phones and they're not in your yonder pouches right now. So everybody just make sure all our devices are quiet. Great. Okay, so on your program, you see our 5 student storytellers. Their names are listed in alphabetical order. But that is not how they're going to be performing tonight. Every year I use this fabulous site called the Wheel of Names. And I put all the names in and I spin the wheel and it lands on different names. So the way I'm gonna bring the students up to the microphone is I'm gonna tell you whether or not they have a superstition, and then I'll say their name. So tomorrow is Friday the 13th. So I asked each student, do you have a superstition? So when I asked our first student, do you have a superstition? The storyteller said, well, there really wasn't anything that came to mind. So let's give it up for the very confident Max.
Can I just start the story?
Yeah.
Okay, so it was last year, summer of 2025, and I was in New York for 2 weeks. So I was not in the city, as many people go to New York to do. I was actually on a 2-week boys' summer camp, about a 4-hour drive away from the city. So this place, called Timberlock, is on Indian Lake, and it's surrounded by mountains and forests, and it's really disconnected from like everything. So I got there and I get introduced, and the first week is super chill, and we go on a 4-day canoeing trip, me and my counselors and the 4 or 5 other people that I'm with. And this is a big camp, so there's 6 people in the group of voyagers or the camp, but then there's 50 or 60 guests who pay to go and eat and chill on the lake for a week. So to keep all of that up, there's a very large staff group, and they cook all the food and serve the guests and clean all the cabins and stuff like that. So it's about a week into it, and we're probably just chilling in our cabin, and one of my friends says, "When are we doing the staff prank?" I'm like, "What's that?" And he explains that every year the voyagers and the staff have a prank war, and we are supposed to do the first prank. And we're already a week into the camp, and we have a hiking trip, probably Monday or Tuesday, so we need to do something. And we decide what we're gonna do. So the next day, it's dinner, so all the staff are busy feeding everyone and making sure everyone's happy. And the boys' staff living quarters is right above the main lodge. So we have to sneakily run behind the lodge, go up the stairs and into their cabin. And we gathered all of the toilet paper that we could, and we threw it everywhere, and we made a giant mess of their cabin. And then we're leaving, and we go back to our eating place, and one of my friends says, "That was lame, we should do more." So we go back, and we grab one of their mattresses. And these are crappy mattresses, they're not super fancy mattresses. So we take it, and we go outside, and we throw it on the roof of the main lodge. And we run back, and we're all super happy because the prank went super well. And we eat, and then the next day, the staff is really mad at us, obviously, but it's all in the spirit of the prank war, so it's fine. And the next couple days go fine, and then it's time for our 3-day hike. So we get in a van, it's a 2-hour drive, long hike for 3 days, and then we get back, and we realize they're gonna prank us back. That was the perfect time to do that. So we run the 1/4 mile back to our cabin with all of our backpacking stuff, and all of our furniture, like our bunk beds and our chairs and our table, are flipped upside down. So they took a probably 100-pound table, wooden bench table, and they flipped it upside down, and then they grabbed all of our mattresses and threw them in the rafters. So this cabin is pretty big. There's an entrance area, and then a hangout area, and then a sleeping area with all the bunks. And above it is the ceiling, and there's rafters going from one wall to the other. So they took them and they balanced them in between the wooden beams up there. And so obviously we cleaned that up, and we did not end up pranking them back, because that's kind of the end of the prank war. But we realized there's this weird sound. It's like crickets every hour or two. And eventually, on the second to last day, we get really fed up and we search the cabin. And we found that they put a tiny electronic chip in one of our walls that would make a cricket noise every 2 hours. And the rest of the camp was great, and we did water skiing and horseback riding and a bunch of hiking, and that was it. Prank war was over.
So one of the things that I get to do at Grant is be the advisor for the Grant Movie Club. And when I was listening to that story, now this is probably just gonna resonate with the people that are Gen X. But the two things, Max, that came to mind was the combination of Meatballs. Anybody's ever seen that 1970s classic with Bill Murray? And then Dirty Dancing. I had a very vivid picture of this camp that Max must have been at. Good to know that TPing is still part of the prank wars, as it was with Gen X as well. Okay, so one of our judges at the table is a former, well, she still keeps her hand in the mix of teacher librarian, Sandra Childs. And I asked Sandra,
Or Sandra.
Sandra, do you have something that you are superstitious about? And she said that you gotta say rabbit, rabbit, the first thing when you wake up on the first day of each month for good luck. And I thought, oh yeah, my daughter and I do that, but we say bunny, bunny. Now, the part I didn't know is that if you forget to say rabbit, rabbit when you get up, you still have one more chance to save things. So if you have forgotten, when you get ready to go to sleep, if you say rabbit, rabbit backwards, T-bar, I was trying to think Tibber, then you're gonna be okay for the rest of the month. So when we hit March 1st, which is a Sunday, and then we don't have to come to school the next day. Did y'all know that? March 2nd is the day off. Oh yeah. The seniors know exactly how many days they have left until graduation, which is June 4th. Yes. So that is Sandra's superstition. All right, so when I asked our next storyteller what superstitious belief they might have, he said, knocking on wood. I truly believe it changes reality. To prove this belief is true, he shared a story about a block of wood that had been dressed up in a pretty scarf and taken to the state and national mock trials competition, which Grant was a part of last year. And all of the team members knocked on the wood to bring them good luck and to prove that this really does change reality. One time, they didn't all knock on wood, alas, they were not the champions. So let's welcome up to the microphone, Ben.
I've done ballet with the same group of about 8 boys since I was like 3 or 4. We started at the Northeast Community Center, and then we all moved up to OBT together, Oregon Ballet Theater. It's the biggest ballet company in Oregon. There was a pretty competitive atmosphere between us, but we were also very friendly. It's kind of the relationship you see amongst the kids in, if you've ever seen Dance Moms, kind of like that. But we were all very friendly, except for me and one of them named, or who we'll call, Jason. Now, Jason was pretty much a bully to me. I don't know if you can picture like ballet boy bullying. It can be really, really mean. And it's not, haha, my plie is deeper than yours. It's, haha, you're a loser and you're fat and I hate you, which is really terrible. Anyway, we were all going to do a summer intensive together, and we were all going to build up our ballet skills, and we were going to see what we could do. It was every day of the summer, we were going to carpool down there. Anyway, one of these carpool days, the games started. This was when Jason's bullying really tended to be clear. Jason would play all the most fun games, like the punch Finn game, or, who farted? Oh, it's probably Finn. Throw him out the window. That's a great one. I never got thrown out the window, nor did I ever fart. Just saying. We get to the ballet, it's okay. But there was one carpool that was different, and this had been going on for quite a while. I came out of my house in my little black ballet tights and leotard, and I'm running over, I fling open the door, I'm excited, and then I see who I'm sitting to, and I kind of instantly shrink. I'm sitting next to Jason. The car ride goes as usual, I'm bullied and I'm punched, and I'm tried to be thrown out the window. It doesn't work, defenestrated. And we get there, something just changed. Maybe it was for how long it had been going on, but I wasn't gonna take it anymore. So I started plotting revenge. Now, I wasn't able to grand jeté and kick him in the face with one mighty kick like I had dreamed of, but I really wanted to. I was gonna get revenge in another way. This way, I went home, I got bullied all the way down, and then I logged onto Instagram. I was about 11 at this time, I don't know if I should have been on Instagram here. And I got on my unsupervised Instagram and clicked create account. I wasn't making one for me, because my name was Jason. I was gonna commit identity fraud, that's how I'm gonna get back at you, Jason, ha ha ha. And so I created this account, my profile picture is Jason's profile picture. All my photos are Jason's photos. It's time to start getting some revenge. I messaged his mom, his grandma, his dog, his fish, I don't know. And I send the most mean things I could possibly think of. I hope you're really, really well. I really hope you're doing good. Hi, Mom. I don't think I could have been really mean at that age, but I was trying to, and I thought I was doing great. I got my revenge done, I put my phone away, I went to bed, and when I woke up, and it was time to go to ballet the next day, I checked my phone, and oh my goodness. Posting about me, stories across the board. Someone's impersonating my son. Help me. So he's being trafficked. It was terrible. I think it was bigger in my 11-year-old brain than it in reality was. This was huge. This was massive. And I go to ballet and I'm shaking and I'm walking to the studio and I see Jason and I'm like, hi Jason. Nothing happened. It was so fine. But I needed to delete this account and I needed to do it fast. So I get home the next time, I look at my phone, I can't delete it. And I'm not sure what to do. Instagram won't let you delete accounts on your phone. I had to tell my mom what I did. So I go up and I go, Mom, I need to use your computer. For what? I need to use your computer. I need to use your computer right now, I have to log into Instagram. Okay, I log into Instagram, I go to the account page, I delete it, it's all over. But I think there's a moral to the story. I think one, maybe don't let your kid on Instagram that early. And two, be really careful because they might be committing identity fraud. Thank you.
That story has so much resonance now thinking about that. I told Finn and Meghna the other day about a time when, this was another mischievous time when I was looking at my college application, and as we've established, that was 38 years ago. And you had to do it on paper, and there was a question that said, have you ever been expelled from a school? And I really hesitated because I didn't know if I should write yes or no or maybe, and we'll save that story for another time, but it involved ballet. All right, so another judge who we have to my left is Danielle Jones. She works with Multnomah County Library. And good news, friends, the Hollywood Library is open.
Oh,
Yes! I had a soft launch today, and I so wanted to go over there, but I just could not get away from the teaching duties. So I think tomorrow I'm going to have to go, and the nerd that I am, I can't wait to go visit another library on my time off. So super exciting for anyone who needs to get their books from the public library. Okay, so with Danielle, I had asked, all right, what are you superstitious about? And this is intense, y'all. Regarding superstitions, she always prepares for Mercury retrograde. Now, Danielle noted that we are currently in a pre-retrograde shadow. So everyone needs to get their tax documents in order. All right, now, she and I also share this superstition, very southern superstition. I bet Miss Kokas does this too, that every first thing on New Year's Day, you have to eat black-eyed peas. Now, I didn't know this second part. Danielle says that after the black-eyed peas, they need to be followed by cabbage at some point during the day to continue the financial prosperity. So I will be adding that to my plate next year. Okay, so now this is intense too. Our third storyteller of the evening noted that she never looks into a mirror at night and definitely never says Bloody Mary 3 times, because you just do not mess with the supernatural. Also note, do not look old dolls in the face or touch them. All right, so let's welcome Meghna to the mic.
As Ms. Bell said, my name is Meghna. However, I have been called many names. Megan, Meghana, Meghna, last name Rich, Agnes, don't even know that one. And my personal favorite, Magma. That one has really stuck with me. And I'm like, this came from my vice principal back in my middle school. And I really don't know when she first called me that, and I don't even know how she originally knew my name or found out who I was, but she called me Magma. So, every day in the halls, I'm Magma. Well, hi, and then like walking out of the bathroom after washing my hands, hi Magma. Where did you come from? And I'm like, okay, this is a little weird. And like I've had people, correct her to her face, like my friend Meghna over there. She's like, oh, Magma, hi, how are you? I'm like, so yeah, I'm like, okay, it's getting a little annoying. So one day, she caught me on the blacktop during our lunch, and she asked me for some reason if I would be willing to collect the trash bins that the kids had been using to, during lunch, just throw away all their food, scraps, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, sure. And like the janitor is just walking right past the trash bins, like on his phone. I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. I got that. And so like I'm grabbing my lunch up, and I kind of like, I go to walk over to the bins, but she stops and she goes, wait, Magma, take the baton. And so I'm like, what? Because she was just holding her hand out like this, and she's like, take the baton. There's nothing there. This is an imaginary baton. She said, lead the way to the trash bins. And I'm like, okay, so she's just, yeah, okay, great, cool. So I humor her a little bit, and I'm like, okay, take the baton. And I'm like, okay, well now, she gave me an imaginary object. I'm gonna have some fun with this. So kind of start walking over, and just kind of looking her in the face, and I dropped the baton. Oh! So sorry about that. Keep walking a little bit. Practicing that one. And so suddenly she's now realizing, oh, I've just opened a can of worms. And so now she's like, can you go get the trash now? And I'm like, you bet I will. Step back a little bit. We have like a good solid, maybe like 7 minutes left of lunch, and I'm gonna take all the time up just making her a little mad. So I walk over with the baton, I kind of grab the trash can, and I roll it with my baton in the other hand. Kind of walk over to her and I walk past her. I circle her a little bit, baton and trash in hand, and she's still just out all day. And I'm like, so do I. And, so I take it, and we're on this kind of like slant for some reason, because it just, the blacktop went down into the under the blacktop or whatever, under the roof. And so I stop on that area and I drop both. So I'm like, oh, the baton's rolling away. Oh, let me go. So I'm like, I'll go get it. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to drop your baton. I know it's very expensive. So I kind of run and I get it, but before I realized I did that, I also realized that the trash bin is rolling away too. And I'm like, I didn't mean to do that. So I'm like trying to get the bin bomb, also still trying to keep this little act up. So I'm like, I got it, don't worry. And for some reason I pull it right back up to her. And at this point I'm like, I have to keep going, because like, what's the worst you can do? It's 8th grade. Not like I'm gonna get expelled or anything. And so she's kind of, I can see she has like a little sparkle in her eye. She's like, I'm intrigued, but I'm also really mad right now. But I also don't have anything that I can really do to like punish this student, because what am I gonna do, say that she rage baited me? Like, not much you can do there. So finally it's like, the first bell rings, I'm like, okay, I gotta finish this up somehow. So I take both of them, I walk them down, let my hand go one last time, and the baton rolls and rolls. And for some reason, as a very lovely coincidence, some kid just happened to like kind of slip, kind of trip a little bit. And so like, oh my God, I did not mean to harm that child. And the baton it rolled away from me. And so I go and I get everything, and the second bell is now ringing. So I have the baton, I put the trash cans aside, I just kind of walk back to her. I sit there with my baton, and she's just, no. And I'm like, okay, but walk into the building one last time. I'm like, do you want to, no. And I'm like, okay. I had this baton, take it in there, and one last look, just to see if she's really mad. And that's it. She just goes, thank you, Madam. That's it.
Wow, who knew you could have had a career as a majorette? Lovely. So, superstitious Stephanie Sheldon over here to the left, our last judge on the panel. She has one that I think Ben can appreciate, because she too likes to knock on wood regularly. In addition to crossing her fingers for luck. Also on our panel over here, who I mentioned was roped into duty, is my husband Ira Pollock. And much like Max, when I said, hey, what are you superstitious about? Not really anything. Finally, he admitted to not really wanting to step on a crack when he's walking down the sidewalk. And then I started thinking, goodness, I have so many. I don't know which one to single out and share, but I think the one thinking about how Finn is just truly convinced about his superstition that this will change reality. I too have something that I have so much faith in, and it is the radio, and I have to pause to say this word right, prognosticator. So what happens to me is when I get in the car every morning and it's time to go to school, and that's how I always think of it. I don't think of it as going to work or I gotta go to my job. It's like, oh, I'm going to school today. And so as I get ready to go to school, like, what is in store for me today? And I turn on the car and I just have to, whatever is playing, that is gonna dictate how the day is gonna go. And so today, y'all, I listened to a lot of radio, as we know, 38 years ago. And there was this song that came on that I know it had to be from the 80s because it was 94.7 and it's the alternative 94.7. And it was a song called Wonderful Life by some band named Black. Do you know it? No. Now you're going to have to go home and look up this song, Wonderful Life by Black. So it had a lovely message about how, what a wonderful, wonderful life. And I thought, yes, it is. Now, the concerning part was that when I pulled up onto Northeast 36th Avenue and put the car in park, the song I was left with was Devo's Through With Being Good. And I thought, well, that kind of ties into our theme of mischief. So, our next storyteller, when asked, what is your superstition? This storyteller believes that grapes bring him luck. And when I asked, okay, does it need to be a specific variety, a specific color? He said, let's go with green. So please welcome up to the mic, Luke.
I want to preface this by saying, pardon my voice, I sound like death, but I'm completely asymptomatic, just coming off of a cold. So I want to drop you right into where my story occurs, 10th grade algebra, which is kind of like a topic that would put fear into a lot of people's hearts, but I enjoyed algebra. I had a great teacher. He was a super chill guy. He very into cryptocurrency, very nice, always told me jokes. Sometimes he would drop a fact about himself and I'd be like, oh, I did not expect that from you, but I was getting math possibly for the first time in my life. I was understanding the concepts. I was flipping variables, I was doing X, and I was enjoying it. And he was a great teacher, but he was very particular. He was a perfectionist at heart, and one of his, and we got daily homework in class, and one of his most specific desires was that the homework stays neat and orderly. No doodling, no mismatching papers, and for the most part, I tried to keep this. I followed these directions because I liked the guy. But one time I was pressed for time. It was 8 a.m. right before school, and I had the class first period, and I was scrambling to get this homework done. If I don't get outside of my house and go to my bus stop within 30 seconds, I'm going to be late for school, and I'm going to have to take the late bus. Do the walk of shame into his classroom. So I had broken the papers apart for some reason, and I did not have a stapler on me, so I was left with the only thing in my dad's office, which happened to be a paperclip. So I use this paperclip, I feed them through the empty stapler holes, and I shove it in my backpack and I'm off to class, and I turn it in, and I think I'm good. And then I check Canvas the very same day, and I see a 4 out of 5 on my homework. And I shared his perfectionist attitude, and when I saw that number, that missing point, I was livid. So I go up to him the very next day, I'm like, hey, I got a 4 out of 5, and I know you grade by completion, not on accuracy, so I'm just wondering what that's about. And he's like, oh yeah, your homework was great. The only reason I deducted that point was because you used a paperclip to attach the 2 pages together. And I was like, really? That's what we're deducting points about? And I have to admit, I held a little bit of a grudge. I was a little bit mad about that. So, and you know what? My grade was good in the class, so I could take the hit. It was about proving a point to him. So whenever we got homework from that day onward, I started adding paper clips, and I would leave paper clips on his desk. I would scatter them around his classroom. On a very memorable day, we had gotten a very thick packet of homework, and I decided after school I would head to Collage, which is an arts and crafts store, and I found this 300 count container of multicolored, huge, fuzzy paper clips, and I thought, oh, they're on sale. It's 40% off. That's not too bad. I think I'll buy them. I just got a gift card to the store for Christmas, so I buy the paper clips, and then I spend the night painstakingly making holes and feeding the paper clips through this thick packet of homework. But don't worry, I made sure to add one staple in the top left corner, just so he could have that knowledge that I could have been normal if I wanted to. I just had to do a little bit extra. Had to be a little mischievous, because why not? And I turned it in, and it stuck out like a sore thumb in the pile of homeworks, and you could see its wideness within the rest of the homework packets. And as he was grading it, I saw him look over at me and just stare daggers into my eyes. But the only thing he could do was give me a 4 out of 5 on that assignment. And eventually, he came up to my desk, and I said, "Luke, you've proven your point. I'm waving my white flag. I cannot take the paper clips anymore." So I was like, "Okay, Mr. Ulrich, I think I've proven my point here." And I followed his directions very carefully from then onward, because I knew I could prove my point if I wanted to. I just had to throw a little bit of mischief in the works. So, yeah.
I'm loving how genteel everyone's mischievous acts are. It's really lovely. It also brought to mind, I don't know if you ever saw the TV show Severance. Oh yeah, seems like Mr. Melman, is that? Milchick. Shares something in common with your math teacher and the placement. Oh, not the placement of paper clips, but your placement of staples. Okay, so we have one more storyteller who's going to share with us tonight. I'm going to tell you really quick. We have extra copies of the Everybody Reads book that Multnomah County Library chose for this year's selection. Lovely one by Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. And so if anyone in the audience wants a copy before we leave tonight, I would love to give you one. Okay, so our final storyteller of the night, and I'm so delighted she's here because some of our storytellers, they love telling stories, or they did it in class and they got the practice and they know how to do this. This next storyteller writes a lot of poetry, so this is something new. Now, kind of like Max and Ira, this storyteller usually does the opposite of what superstitions say. So, oh, you're not supposed to walk under a ladder? But black cats are bad luck? No, they're not. 13 is a really good number, and we all know Taylor Swift would tell us that. We know that that's a good number. But then they paused and they said, "I am Miss Todd's student. And yes, there is one superstition that I have because it involves the theater. And that is, as we well know, there is a certain Shakespearean character name that we never say when we are in the theater, unless we are rehearsing or we are actually putting on the production of the Scottish play." So, our next storyteller is Olivia.
Being last is not better than being first. Okay. So, like I think it was the first storyteller, this story also takes place last year, but it starts in 2nd grade. I had a not-so-secret crush on my best friend, the boy across the street, who did not go to the same school as me, but we were best friends, and I really, really liked him. And I was friends with him for years, and then in middle school he moved away, and we started to see each other less and less and less, until I realized in freshman year that I hadn't seen him in years, and I really missed him, and maybe that ex-crush was not so much of an ex-crush and more of a crush because it had not been really an ending. It had just been this open-ended kind of thing. And I started to realize that I really wanted to see him again. But there was nothing I could do about that. I couldn't contact him. I'd been to his house a few times, but telling my parents that my ex-crush had come back as a newfound crush to get that address sounded atrocious. I was not doing that for a letter. So instead, I decided, oh wait, Instagram exists. So I should go to my local Instagram stalker friend and say, hey, can you find this person for me? And she said, absolutely I can. And 20 minutes later, she texted me and was like, so I didn't find him, but I found his mom and his dad and his uncle. And also I know where he goes to school and that he does track. And I was like, oh well, this information doesn't help me. I guess I can't contact him. And I was complaining about this to my grandma. And she goes, yeah, you actually can. You can find addresses on the online phone book. And I said, Grandma, what? And she said, well, you just need a first and a last name. And so I was like, okay. And so I did. I found his address. And all of a sudden I had an address. And I was going to write a letter. So I wrote a letter. And it was really sappy and mushy and embarrassing. And I was at a sleepover with my local Instagram stalker bestie and my other best friend. And I said, guys, I can't send this letter. It's super embarrassing. And my local Instagram stalker bestie said, you don't have to send him that letter. You could just say this is for a health assignment. And I said, what? And she said, well, you could say this is a personal growth assignment. And you need to compare what you were like in the past to what you're like now. And, you know, you need someone from your past. I was like, that's an amazing idea. So I wrote a letter detailing that I had an assignment. And I put in my phone number and I sent it off. I went to the post office, I put a stamp on it, and I put it in the mail. And then I got sick. And this was the beginning of spring break. And by Thursday on spring break, I looked absolutely atrocious. Hadn't showered in days, was coming off of sickness. And that's when I got a text from a random number. Hey, it's blank. Am I too late to help you with your assignment? So, like any logical person, I promptly threw my phone across the room, showered, got new clothes, brushed my hair, got myself all nice, and then responded. And I said, hey, I'm kind of busy the next few days, but we can maybe do this Saturday. And he was like, of course, call me Saturday. And I was like, great. And I was like, I don't have a health assignment. And he might ask for evidence that I have a health assignment. So I went to my other best friend and I was like, I need your help. Help me make a health assignment so that I have evidence that this was an actual thing, that I didn't totally make it up, but I did totally make it up. So I went to her and she was like, of course I can help you with this. And we made an assignment, and I have this in my Google Docs to this day with all of his answers written down, her answers too, because I had to make it look real. So I asked her all the questions as well, just in case he needed more evidence. Never asked for evidence, by the way. But yeah, so I called him, I asked him all the questions, I wrote down all his answers, and then we talked, and I thought, wow, this is really working. And I really am going to get to reconnect with him. And then we texted for a while, and then the texts were coming slower and slower, and he said, and he asked me to hang out, but then he said, actually, I failed a chemistry test, and I'm going to be grounded for the next forever. And I was like, oh wow, that's so sad. I guess text me when you can. And he was like, yeah, sure. And then months went by. And I was like, I was definitely ghosted. So I texted him and I was like, hey, if you want to ghost someone, don't. It sucks, I promise. No one wants to be ghosted. But I was moving on. I was done with him. And I was totally done. Until he sent a text 2 days later that was like, hey, I got a new phone for my birthday and I had to put on all my contacts manually and I forgot to put in yours. So, but anyway, long story short, he had a girlfriend, so we couldn't text anymore. And I got my favorite artist from him. So if you're ever in the same situation, Why'd You Have to Call by Freya Sky is a great song. Thank you.
I told Olivia I thought that was the perfect song for her to discover because that's, as we were listening to the story, we're all thinking, yeah, why did you have to call? But kudos to you and friends for putting in so much extra time on your health class assignment. Okay, so what's going to happen now is our judges are finishing up their final scores and they're going to turn in their score sheets, and I'm going to go confer with our fabulous math genius who's been helping us tonight. My student library assistant Amelia answered the call when I said, oh, might you want to help out at the Story Slam? And it's amazing what some NHS volunteer hours and milk and chocolate will do. But in all seriousness, I'm so thankful for all the people that came out to help make this event possible tonight. So while we are crunching the numbers, I asked Sandra, who has been known to go to mock story hours and throw her name in the hat to be called up on stage, if she might be willing to share a quick story with us while we figure out how the points shake out tonight. All right, so welcome to the microphone, Sandra.
Hello. This is not a story I've told before, and so I don't know how it's going to go. But I thought a lot about this topic, and I thought, I'm not going to tell you about the time I got kicked out of Disneyland. Nope. And I'm not going to tell you about the time I got called down to the principal's office because I was in trouble when I was a teacher. Instead, I'm going to tell you a story about Mitch. And like Olivia, Mitch, won my heart when I was little. Not 7, but at 3 years old. And it lasted a very long time. But Mitch and I lived on Mentone Avenue, and it was a wonderful block, and the kids all played together. But some of us were mischief makers. There was, in fact, Tony, and Tony used to throw bowling balls off the roof of his house. Luckily, he never hit anything, but it wasn't so lucky for the bowling balls. And then there was Barry, who just maniacally would ride his bicycle with his shirt up over his head. And one day I happened to fall down in front of him accidentally, and he rode over my knees, and then Hulk Hogan beat him up. And yet we weren't really tough kids. So Mitch wasn't just my first crush, he was also my first memory. And my first memory of Mitch is we were 3 years old, and my mom and his mom were sitting in the house chatting, and we were in the backyard playing in the mud, and we got completely covered, and then we decided to make roaring animal noises and press our bodies up against the glass window, and then Mom made their own animal noises, a little less playful, and we got scooped up, and they stripped us down, we were only 3, and threw us in the tub. That is my first memory, and there's something in me that loves a first memory that has to do with both the earth and water, and frankly, Mitch. Now, that was just our first little bit of mischief making. One of the things that we did often as little kids is we loved to go underneath the sink and find all the different combinations of soaps and liquids and things and mix them together. And then we would put them in these little pill bottles. I don't know where we got the pill bottles. And we would get this, they were like watercolor crayons. If you just get them wet, they would, and so they were perfect for dyeing our potions. And then we would get darts, and we would go up and down the block, and we were tree doctors, and we would throw the darts at the trees. I don't have any hand-eye coordination, so that was dangerous in and of itself. And we were, saving the trees. I guess I was preparing myself to move from Los Angeles up to Oregon to save the trees, so that also seems consistent. Probably the most dangerous exploit was when we decided that we were going to go on a big road trip. And I think we were about 6 or 7 at this point. And this was a very long time ago. So imagine a big Oldsmobile on the block with the big fins. And we get in the car, and we don't have the keys. That's okay. That's good. That's really good. And somewhere in his head, Mitch decides he thinks that because we're grown up and we're going on a trip, we're going to smoke. Because that's what people did in the 60s. And we didn't even have any cigarettes, but it didn't matter. He pushed in the lighter. I don't even think most cars have this today. Pushed it in, and the coils got really red and hot, and then he put it up against my lips. Yeah, it was not good. Not good at all. I screamed. Mitch got in trouble, but we didn't go anywhere. Except the time that we were on the Flexi Flyer. That's like a sled, but it had wheels. And I was pushing, even though I was the littlest. We had 3 friends on it, and Mitch was pulling, and he pulled too fast. My hand slipped. Sorry. My hand slipped. Boom. My face planted on the sidewalk. I do believe, in fact, he broke my nose. I don't know if you can tell this beautiful specimen here. Now, time passed. Mitch's dad died. Mitch and I started spending less and less time together because by now you don't really hang out unless you are like together. And even though I had a mad crush on this boy, I don't think he had one on me. And then eventually I moved off the block. Mitch dropped out of high school. I went off to college. Didn't see him. But I got this inkling I wanted to see him. Just like Olivia. I don't know how that happened. Anyway, so, and I'm probably going over my time, but I'm not being judged, so I guess it doesn't matter. Anyway, so I'm in my 30s now, and I go back to LA to visit my family. My family no longer lives on the block, right? But my other best friend Gail's parents do, and Mitch's mom still does, and it turns out Mitch does too, because he's living with his mom. And I decide I want to visit everybody. So I visit Gail and her parents, that goes great, and I visit Jackie and say, I'd like to connect with Mitch. And she's like, that would be really good. That would be really good. He's working at Subway, but here's his number, and you should call him. I'm like, okay, he's in his 30s, he's working at Subway, maybe I don't want to do this. But she's like, you really should. So I call him up. There's no texting, right? Words before that. And we arranged to meet somewhere in the marina. And I go there, and I'm nervous as all get out. But he doesn't show up. Totally stands me up. And I decide at some point I'm going to call back, not Subway, but Jackie's where he's living, because maybe I got the address wrong. Maybe it's a different place. I'm thinking, like, why would he stand me up? And I call, and Jackie is fuming. She's just so mad. And she says, you are going to see him. I'm like, no, it's really fine. It's okay. I don't want to see him. It's all right. And she's like, nope, come over tomorrow afternoon or tomorrow evening. He will be here. So I knock on the door. And he's not even living at his old house. They're living at Mr. Peterson's house because Jackie married Mr. Peterson, which is weird. Anyway, so I knock on Mr. Peterson's house, and Jackie's not anywhere, and the house is kind of dark, and Mitch opens the door, and his eyes are darting around, I guess he's like darting around, and he starts talking very rapidly, and he pulls out stacks of papers to tell me about some government conspiracy, and I feel really trapped, and something is wrong. That's what I know, but I don't quite realize what's going on, and it turns out that the mischief that Mitch had gotten into years after I knew him was much more serious than a Flexi Flyer. or throwing bowling balls, or tree potions, or mud, or even lighters. And I only found out much later when he reached out to me in recovery that he had spent many, many years as an alcoholic and a drug addict. And he was probably on meth when I saw him. And it was a relief to know that he had been in recovery for so long. And kind of like, I don't know, made me feel much better about the whole experience. And then years go by, and Mitch becomes an accountant. And then just this past year, Mitch went back to school. And this past year, he graduated with a master's in social work, and he's working with at-risk youth. And I'm really glad that he's my first crush and my first memory, because I get to kind of, you know, have a good place in my heart for all that playful mischief and for the idea of redemption. And now we're going to get old. I'm in my 60s. There's going to be a point where I don't remember any of this. But I still have my broken nose, and I hope I always have my memories of Mitch. Thank you.
I wonder if I could have all of my storytellers come up to the microphone. I'm gonna ask Ira if he'll take a picture on his phone of my storytellers. Okay. My phone has no storage left on it. Okay, here we go. All right, storytellers, you get up by the mic.
Oh,
Yes.
picture.
Yay!
You in there, babe?
Sure.
And a 1, and a 2, and a 3.
Thank you. All right, so I'm going to keep them up here. So here's what happens. So like we said, the point isn't the points, but we have to have the points because it's a storytelling competition, and our winner and runner-up go on to compete at the District Story Slam, which is happening in 2 weeks. This year it's at McDaniel. And there'll be other storytellers there from Franklin, McDaniel, Lincoln, and I think maybe Benson. So that'll be another night to come out and hear some stories about mischief. So I want to thank, and I have prizes for everyone because I'm always so delighted that students are willing to spend part of their evening being vulnerable and sharing stories with you. So I have prizes for storytellers Olivia, Meghana, and Luke. Our runner-up is Max, and our winner is Finn. Thank you all. I really am so grateful that you came out, and we got to give kudos to Finn because he was rallying the troops and getting some friends together to tell stories, and really grateful to Amelia for, in the 11th hour, really, it was like 8th period, and I happened to say, hey, might you be willing to come and help me with the math scores tonight? So thank you to all of you students, I really appreciate it, and thanks to our audience. See you next